Tonight,
forging peace between Israelis and Palestinians may be the most difficult challenge of all.
the White House releases its long-awaited proposal for peace in the Middle East.
I was not elected to do small things or shy away from big problems.
What's in the plan and how will the Palestinians respond? And the president's defense delivers its last day of arguments in the Senate impeachment trial. Plus,
the global risk assessment is high.
The United States is preparing for more cases of the coronavirus as the disease continues to spread around the world. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A path to peace in the Middle East. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder.
And I'm John Jessup. President Trump unveiled his long-awaited Middle East peace plan at the White House today, hailing it as a win-win for both the Palestinians and the Israelis.
The proposal calling for a two-state solution if the Palestinian Authority meets certain benchmarks. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us from the North Lawn with the details. Ben?
Well, Jenna, John, at 80 pages, the plan is no doubt an ambitious one, and President Trump calls it the toughest deal. It's also the first time Israel has agreed to a Palestinian state with defined borders. With his Israeli counterpart by his side, President Trump touted a new Middle East peace deal that calls for a two-state solution.
I've agreed to negotiate peace with the Palestinians on the basis of your peace plan.
Forging peace between Israelis and Palestinians may be the most difficult challenge of all.
One that Trump took on with the help of his son-in-law Jared Kushner. Under the plan, the future state of Palestine would include parts of the West Bank, Gaza, and 2 new pieces of land near the Egyptian border. It more than doubles the amount of territory under Palestinian control.
I sent a letter today to President Abbas. I explained to him that the territory allocated for his new state will remain open and undeveloped for a period of 4 years.
The plan also calls for a portion of East Jerusalem to be turned over for Palestine's capital, but only once certain benchmarks have been met, like ending pay to slay and rooting out terrorism.
My vision presents a win-win opportunity for both sides, a realistic two-state solution that resolves the risk of Palestinian statehood to Israel's security. Today, Israel has taken a giant step toward peace.
Israel's upcoming national election on March 2nd will not affect this deal. In fact, Netanyahu's main opponent, blue and white leader Benny Gantz, also traveled right here to D.C. and has signed off on the terms. So regardless of who wins the election, it would appear the peace plan will be implemented by Israel. The challenge lies with the Palestinians, who, John and Jenna, already rejected it without even seeing it.
All right. Thank you, Ben Kennedy at the White House.
And here now for more, Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. And Chris joins us by satellite from Jerusalem, so there might be some delay. Regardless, Chris, good to have you. Busy day. Chris, for our viewers at home who maybe don't know, you've been following the Israeli-Palestinian conflict for more than 20 years now. How does this peace plan fit into that history?
Well, Jenna and John, it is historic, and here's the plan itself. It's very detailed. It's a long way from the Oslo Accords and the White House lawn about 1993 when Yasser Arafat and shook hands with then Prime Minister Rabin and also with President Clinton watching him. Some of the things that are unique to this plan, I would say, first of all, they recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital. There's no question about that. Sovereignty in the Jordan Valley and Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, that's a big deal. There's maps. I mean, you just showed that in Ben's report. There's a map. That's never been done before. So a lot of historic things. Netanyahu compared this to the May 14th, 1948, when President Truman recognized the state of Israel. It's not quite to that level, but it's very historic.
And speaking of history, Chris, how are Israelis reacting, especially in light of late-breaking word that Prime Minister Netanyahu plans to ask his cabinet to endorse a plan to annex parts of the West Bank Sunday? How does all of that factor into the peace plan?
Well, that's a big thing. They really haven't waited a long time. In just a few days, the cabinet will vote on annexing Jordan Valley, which a lot of Israelis think is very necessary to protect its eastern border. And then the Jewish communities there in Judea and Samaria. We've already heard reaction from some of them. They say yes to annexation, but they really say no to a Palestinian state. So, and these are people that are in the Netanyahu sphere of influence on his bloc. So he's going to have to deal with that politically. The plan was rejected. There's an influential council in Judea and Samaria that have already rejected that. So will Netanyahu, on his political right, be able to keep those, especially as these elections are coming up in just a few weeks?
And then what about on the Palestinian side, Chris?
Well, it was kind of predictable even before the plan was announced. Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority, already had rejected it. He said no, no, no to the steal of the century. He plans to meet with the Hamas leader, Haniyeh, and that's telling because he's really allying with a group that really calls for the destructions of Israel. What I've been hearing, John and Jenna, is they're calling for demonstrations, but really people haven't responded. The business leaders in Ramallah are saying we're not going to have a general strike. That they've actually, some of the parents have actually said their kids are not going out on the streets. So I think the mute is there's sort of a muted reaction on the Palestinian state, but we'll see what the Palestinians do. You know, Golda Meir famously said many years ago that the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. The question now is, will they be able to take this opportunity?
Chris, real quickly here, what about evangelical Christians in the United States? What role and how important are they into the implementation of the plan?
Well, I believe at the White House, after the plan was announced, they met with many evangelical leaders that were there in the room. Their support is going to be key politically going forward. You know, Israel is one of the #1 issues for evangelical Christians. So on that issue, they're going to have to get them on board. We'll see what happens. I think the plan, as I see it right now, has a lot going for it in terms of evangelical Christians recognizing Jerusalem, recognizing the biblical heartland of Judea and Samaria, and actually a long-term road for the Palestinians to statehoods. 4 years or more. I think that's going to help evangelical Christians come on board for this.
All right, Chris, we have to leave it there. But Chris Mitchell from Jerusalem, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Well, to the Senate impeachment trial, the president's legal team wrapping up today its legal defense, ending the argument phase of the trial. In the next segment, senators will get the chance to ask questions of both the House impeachment managers and the president's lawyers during a 16-hour period that will begin the next day or so. The Senate majority and minority will then go back and forth posting written questions that are then read aloud by Chief Justice John Roberts. After the 16 hours is done, impeachment managers and the president's team will debate new evidence and calling new witnesses. The senators will then vote on next steps.
It is a complex process. And for more now, we turn to Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill. Abigail, the president's defense today wrapped things up quite quickly.
That's right, Jenna. The defense wrapped using just about 10 hours of their allotted 15 hours of time to present their case. And today, President Trump's lawyer, Jay Sekulow, really summed up the defense by saying that this is a partisan impeachment process that sets a dangerous precedent for future presidents. Take a look.
There is no violation of law. There's no violation of the Constitution. There is a disagreement on policy decisions. Most of those that spoke at your hearings did not like the president's policy. That's why we have elections. But to have a removal of a duly elected president based on a policy disagreement?
And Sekulow repeated this ominous warning of danger, danger, danger multiple times as he wrapped his defense.
Gil, the defense hasn't really changed too many minds about whether the president committed impeachable offenses. The real question now, the need to hear from witnesses.
That's right, John. And Senate Democrats have not wavered in their calls to bring forth new witnesses in this trial. They say that is the only way to have a fair trial, is to bring forth witnesses and the evidence that they're asking for. And today, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer made the case that every day this trial goes on, more information leaks out, like what we're hearing about the allegations John Bolton has written in his upcoming book that make it imperative to bring witnesses into the Senate trial. Let's play his clip.
Now, it seems like every day some new revelation emphasizes our request for relevant witnesses and documents in this trial and gives it momentum. There's been a steady drip, drip, drip of information. The truth leaking out in one explosive article after another. In that sense, this is reminiscent of Watergate.
And we know that the Bolton allegations that have been reported this week are certainly putting pressure on some members of the GOP to vote to potentially call forth witnesses.
Abigail, Senators Collins and Romney, they've made it clear that they would like to call witnesses. Is there any movement on that? Do you think other senators, at least 2 others, will be joining them in calling for witnesses?
That is the big question. And so far, Jenna, we don't really know yet. And we're going to hear more about, we know that the Republican caucus are meeting this afternoon, and McConnell has made it clear that he does not think witnesses are necessary, but we will see that vote in the upcoming days. And there is a little bit of movement from some Senate GOP senators who say with these allegations that are leaking from Ambassador John Bolton, they want to see the manuscript of his book in a classified environment, in a SCIF, where senators can go read his allegations in the book and take a look, not necessarily call him as a witness, but at least see what he has to say. And even some of President Trump's staunchest allies in the Senate, like Senator Lindsey Graham, are on board with that idea. Take a look.
Apparently it's in a classified setting now. I'm just suggesting if it's in a classified setting now, let's look at it in that setting. This was Senator Lankford's idea. It makes perfect sense to me. I don't know if it's achievable, but that would be a solution to the problem.
And that long-awaited vote on whether or not to call witnesses will happen after this 16-hour written question session. So we're expecting it either Friday or Saturday. Back to you, John and Jenna.
Abigail Robertson on Capitol Hill, thank you. And time now for our Faith Nation political panel. Joining us tonight, CBN's chief political analyst, David Brody, and senior Washington correspondent, Jennifer Wishon. Both of you, good to have you with us.
Thanks. Good to see you.
David, to you first. How confident do you think the defense feels tonight?
Well, I think they were feeling more confident 24 hours ago. I mean, you know, they put on a competent defense of the president, but now becomes the fluid situation and what happens next. And it gets into witnesses, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. So, you know, I think there's some nervous Nellies, if you will, right now. But I think so far what they set out to accomplish the goal of defending the president, they said, look, the aid never got withheld. This is not impeachable. Doesn't rise to the level of impeachment. They hit all the talking points, but now we go to another phase.
David teed me up. Jennifer, the key central question now that remains is, will witnesses be called? What's your sense?
Yeah, well, I think that what James Lankford has proposed, as Abby just told us, is kind of brilliant. James Lankford is an ally of the president's. He does not mean the president any harm. And if this goes forward, if senators are allowed to read the manuscript in private to see what John Bolton would testify to in a deposition or in front of the full Senate, I think that relieves the pressure from senators who may be on the fence because they're saying, look, we did our due diligence, we see what his testimony would be, and so now we can see a fuller picture.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, I 100% agree with that. And I think if you read the tea leaves, you've got Senator Lankford, a very conservative senator. You got Pat Toomey, very conservative senator, now saying, you know, maybe we'll talk about a one witness for one witness. If you start to have conservative senators saying we need to discuss this a little further, I think if you read the tea leaves, that suggests there's going to be some movement, some compromise potentially in the middle.
Something to watch.
Today, the defense, they directly addressed the John Bolton book, and, you know, it's something that they didn't do yesterday. They even argued, they say that, you know, even if these accusations are true, what President Trump did does not rise to the level of impeachment. David, what do you make of this argument?
Well, I mean, that's what they say. They also say John Bolton has met. We reported on CBN News this morning on the 700 Club that one senior administration official told me that John Bolton's a world-class jerk. And, you know, they weren't trying to be mean. I guess they were, actually. But beyond that, they were saying that, look, the guy has policy differences with the president. He has an axe to grind. He has an agenda. And so that's going to be part of a way to discredit John Bolton. And it's kind of interesting and ironic that John Bolton potentially could be the human smoking gun here that could take down potentially the president, because he's been so conservative and so he's been a neocon for a long time, and really a lot of conservatives like him in the Republican Party overall in terms of what he's done.
But if John Bolton does testify, Jennifer, they still have to get 20 Republicans to vote for impeachment, and they're saying that's not going to happen. The president's going to be acquitted.
Right. That's what's going to happen. I mean, unless something, I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I don't think that's going to happen. I do think the man to watch over the next 48, 72 hours is Senator Lamar Alexander from Tennessee. He has broken with the president a number of times on key issues over the years that Trump has been in office. He's retiring at the end of the year. So he's a little bit more free, even though he represents a state that in 2016, 60% of voters approved Trump. So how does he want to retire? Does he want to retire in good favor with his neighbors, or is he going to be willing to rock the boat? I think he's the man to watch.
David, real quickly before we go, let's talk about the president's big announcement today, the Middle East peace plan. This is a big deal for his administration. He's staking a lot on this, but he's also staked a lot for Benjamin Netanyahu, who's also in a political fight.
Yeah. Look, I think overall the reviews are relatively positive. Not from the Palestinians, obviously, but overall, evangelicals, the leaders I've been talking to say they're pretty happy with it. I do think the Judea-Samaria situation, which also known as the West Bank, is an interesting situation to watch. A lot of holy sites there. Whether or not the Palestinians are going to get some land in Judea and Samaria. What land are they getting exactly? We need to see them a little bit more on the map. I want to see the map.
All right, more to come. David and Jennifer, thank you both.
Thanks.
Thank you.
More American airports start screening for the coronavirus. Could it potentially affect your travel plans? That story when we come back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. Tonight, the U.S. wants more cooperation from China to fight the mysterious coronavirus.
While the Chinese maintain the disease is not a major threat domestically, other countries are growing more and more concerned about an international outbreak.
And CBN National Security Correspondent Eric Phillips joins us with more. Eric?
Jenna and John, looking at the numbers, American medical officials have a good reason to be concerned. 4,500 confirmed cases, 5 in the United States, and each of those cases had direct contact with Wuhan, China, ground zero for this disease.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
The explosion of confirmed cases abroad has prompted American officials to increase screening of passengers traveling from China.
CDC has reassessed its entry strategy and decided to expand to screening travelers from the 5 airports originally to 20 airports in the United States.
Tuesday, Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar said the U.S. has offered to send a team to China to collect data and help control the spread, but the offer has fallen flat.
We are urging China. More cooperation and transparency are the most important steps you can take toward a more effective response.
But in Beijing Tuesday, during a meeting with the director of the World Health Organization, President Xi Jinping said China is ready to work with the international community.
This is a major issue, major public health issue, and we basically just need the best public health people we have in the world working on this right now.
The CDC has recommended Americans avoid travel to China, the State Department issuing a stronger level 4 warning to stay away.
Right now, there is no spread of this virus in our communities here at home. This is why our current assessment is that the immediate health risk of this new virus to the general public is low in our nation.
Health officials hope it stays that way and are prepared if it doesn't.
We have already started at the NIH and with many of our collaborators on the developing of a vaccine.
Preparedness is a day job around here.
Though CDC Director Robert Redfield cautioned there's a lot experts don't know about the spread of the coronavirus, this is currently not a public health emergency here in America. Now, Secretary Azar did say he would not hesitate to make that designation if it becomes necessary. In the meantime, experts stress washing hands, covering your mouth when you cough, and staying home when you're sick. John and Jenna.
All right, good advice. Thank you, Eric. Well, the coronavirus has taken Wall Street for quite a ride, too. After huge losses yesterday, stocks closed up today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ended up nearly 190 points. The S&P was more than 30 points, and U.S. Treasury yield curve briefly inverted today on worries of global economic impact of the virus. That is the measure that sparked fear of possible recession back in October.
Investigators reveal more details about the fatal helicopter crash that killed basketball star Kobe Bryant. The latest after this.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Welcome back. Investigators are releasing more factors that could have led to the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant, his oldest daughter, and 7 others in California Sunday, including heavy fog in the area at the time that could have disoriented the pilot.
We're not just focusing on weather here, though. We take a broad look at everything around an investigation, around an accident. We look at man, machine, and the environment, and weather is just a small portion of that.
Investigators acknowledge it could take a while to determine exactly what happened. The crash scene extends over an area larger than a football field. The helicopter involved in the crash was not required to have a black box on board, but the NTSB recovered an iPad which might contain some flight information. And correction, that was not his oldest daughter, it was his second daughter.
Well, nearly 3 weeks after a devastating 6.4 earthquake in Puerto Rico, most classrooms remain empty. Only about 20% of schools have been certified as safe to open. Inspectors are still working, but so far only 177 of the island's 856 public schools are accepting students, leaving some 240,000 kids out of school completely. And there have been protests over the government's response to the earthquake and continued fallout from Hurricane Maria back in 2017. Demonstrators say they want more funding to help with relief efforts, and some even say Governor Wanda Vasquez should lose her job. We'll be right back.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Finally tonight, senators running for president are stuck in D.C. for the impeachment trial. So they're dispatching teams to help them campaign ahead of next week's Iowa caucus.
And Senator Elizabeth Warren is calling on, and I'm told by our show producer I have to say these words, her campaign surrogate to win over Iowa caucus goers. Golden Retriever Bailey is out on the trail helping her mom in the final push. He visited Drake University students and the school's mascot in Des Moines. Just like his mom, Bailey posed for pictures in a selfie, but I'm told he did not take any questions from reporters.
Looks like Bailey's a big hit.
He is a big hit indeed.
Have a great evening.